90% of startups fail. That's the stat they love to throw around at pitch competitions. The fail fast mantra. The badge of honor. But nobody talks about the other 10%. The ones that don't fail. The ones that get stolen. FBI data shows that intellectual property theft costs U.S. businesses over $600 billion a year. $600 billion. With a B. Most of that isn't Chinese hackers in a basement. It's not a kid in a hoodie cracking a firewall. It's a handshake across a mahogany table. It's a signature on a term sheet you didn't read closely enough at 2 a.m. It's the guy you split a $12 burger with because the company card got declined. That's exactly what happened to me. My name is on the patent. My code is in the kernel. My blood is in the carpet fibers of that first office, a sublet above a laundromat on 4th Street. I built Nexus. Not we. Marcus was the money. The smile. The vision. He wore Allbirds and talked about democratizing logistics like it was a religion. I wore the same hoodie for 3 weeks straight and didn't shower for 4 days the week we launched the beta. I wrote the algorithm that routed perishables with 99% efficiency. I slept under my desk. I missed my mom's funeral because the server cluster caught fire and he was in Aspen networking. I sent him the text from the funeral home parking lot. Asterisk server down. Fixing it asterisk, he replied 3 hours later. Keep me posted, that should have been the statistic. Right there. The correlation between equity split and empathy. 0. We hit Series B, 20 million. Pre-money valuation, 80. I own 32%. He owned 33%. The board held the rest. That 1%. That single, stupid percentage point. It kept me up nights. Not the money. The principle. I built the engine, he just steered the car. Then came Elena. She walked into the laundromat office holding a dripping umbrella and a resume printed on linen paper. She was applying for head of ops. She had eyes that looked like they'd seen the bottom of the ocean and decided to build a raft. I hired her on the spot. 6 months later, she was living in my apartment. 18 months later, she was wearing my grandmother's ring. 3 years. 3 years of her debugging my nightmares. Making me eat. Forcing me to look at the sunset instead of the terminal. She was the only thing real in a valuation spreadsheet. Then the term sheet for Series C landed. 100 million. Unicorn status. The night before the board meeting, Marcus took me out for whiskey. Expensive stuff. Japanese. 25 a pour. You're tired, brother, he said. Swirling the amber liquid. You've been sprinting a marathon for 5 years. Let me carry the baton for a lap. I laughed. It's my race, Marcus. It's our race, he corrected. Soft. Dangerous. And the board, they're nervous. Founder risk. Key man clauses. They want a CEO who plays golf. Who speaks Wall Street. Not, he gestured vaguely at me. Not the guy who codes in his underwear. I stared at the ice melting in my glass. I'm the CTO. I stay. You CEO. We agreed. Agreements change, he said. The new term sheet, it has a recapitalization clause. Standard boilerplate. Protects the company if a founder becomes incapacitated or fails to perform duties. Incapacitated? Or fails to perform, he repeated. He leaned in. The smell of his cologne, Tom Ford, tobacco vanilla, the scent of money. Take the golden handcuffs, Eli. 10 million cash. 2% advisory shares. You keep the IP credit. You go build a cabin in Colorado. Write a memoir. Whatever. But you sign tomorrow. Or the board votes you out for cause. We have the emails. The missed meetings. The erratic behavior during the server migration last year. Blackmail. In a leather booth. Over $50 whiskey. I looked at my phone. A text from Elena. Asterisk good luck tomorrow. Love you, asterisk 3 little words. A shield. I didn't sign. I walked into that boardroom the next morning with my spine straight. I presented the Q3 roadmap. I answered every technical question. I was the architect. The vote was unanimous. 5-1. Marcus didn't even look at me. He just slid the termination packet across the table. Standard NDA. Non-compete. Non-disparagement. You have 24 hours. I signed it in the parking lot. My hand shook so hard the pen tore the paper. $10 million hit my account 3 days later. I bought the cabin. Colorado. Pine trees. Silence. I didn't write a memoir. I drank. 6 months of silence. 6 months of staring at the fire, watching the code burn behind my eyelids. If user equals Marcus, return betrayal, then the invitation arrived. Heavy cardstock. Gold foil. Mr. and Mrs. Marcus Thorne request the honor of your presence, Mrs. Thorne. The date was 3 weeks away. The location, the Plaza Hotel. New York. My stomach dropped through the floorboards of the cabin. I flew back to the city I swore I'd never see again. I didn't go to the wedding. I'm not insane. I went to the rehearsal dinner. I stood in the back of the private dining room at the grill, wearing a suit that cost more than my first seed round, holding a glass of champagne I didn't drink. There she was. Elena. In a slip dress that cost 10 grand. Hair pinned up. Glowing. She was laughing at something Marcus said. His hand on the small of her back. That possessive, proprietary touch. The same hand that had held my face when I cried about my mom. The same hand that had traced the lines of my code on the whiteboard, pretending to understand. She turned. Our eyes locked across the room. She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She didn't cry. She smiled. A tight, polished, corporate smile. The kind Marcus taught her. The kind you give a difficult investor. She raised her glass. A silent toast. Cheers to the exit, then she turned back to him. Leaned in. Whispered in his ear. He threw his head back and laughed. That loud, performative laugh. I watched them. The thief and the prize. I realized then, she didn't leave me for him. She traded up. I was the seed round. High risk. High stress. Illiquid. He was the IPO. Liquid. Secure. Status. She executed a hostile takeover of her own life. And I was just the asset she stripped for parts. I walked out of the grill. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't make a scene. Scenes are for people who still care about the outcome. I got in a cab. Went straight to a dive bar in the East Village. The kind with sawdust on the floor and whiskey for $8. I sat there for 6 hours. My phone buzzed. Non-stop. Marcus, asterisk classy exit. Enjoy the payout, asterisk Elena, asterisk you're better than this. Don't make it ugly, asterisk my lawyer, asterisk reminder, non-disparagement clause is active. Social media monitored, asterisk I blocked them all. I stared at the neon sign flickering behind the bar, liquor, the queue buzzed. LIUOR, a bug in the universe. That's when it hit me. The statistic I missed. The FBI says IP theft is 600 billion. But they don't track the human capital theft. The trust equity. The years of 2 a.m. debugging sessions paid for in intimacy instead of overtime. The emotional labor that scaled the company before the servers ever did. Elena didn't just marry my replacement. She married my life. She took the version of me that was soft. The version that existed only for her. And she gave it to him. She uploaded my soul to his cloud. And I let her. Because I was busy building the machine. I finished the whiskey. Paid cash. Left 100% tip. I walked out into the freezing November air. My phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. A screenshot. It was a document. A Delaware Certificate of Incorporation. Filed yesterday. Entity name, Apex Logistics Incorporated. Registered agent, Elena Thorne. Authorized shares, 10,000,000. Incorporator, Marcus Thorne. But the attachment was the cap table. Elena Thorne, 51%. Marcus Thorne, 49%. She didn't just marry the CEO. She became the majority shareholder. She used the money I gave her for the down payment on the cabin, the money from my $10 million, to fund the seed round. She used the contacts I introduced her to. The network I built. The playbook I wrote in my own blood. She didn't trade up. She acquired him. A reverse merger. He thought he was buying a trophy wife. She bought a public company. And she used my blueprint to do it. I stood on the sidewalk, the wind cutting through my expensive coat, staring at the screen until the battery died. The irony was a physical weight. Crushing. Beautiful. 90% of startups fail. But the 10% that survive? They eat their founders for breakfast. I hailed an Uber. Newark Airport. Where to in Newark? The driver asked. Terminal C. One way. I opened the Notes app. My thumbs flew. Muscle memory. / project, Phoenix / language, Rust / target, high frequency logistics routing / constraint, zero trust architecture / note, do not hire friends. Do not love investors. Build the moat inside the code. The screen glowed white in the dark car. $10 million buys a very nice cabin. It also buys a very large server farm. And I know exactly where the backdoors are in Nexus. I built them. I am the backdoor. Marcus thinks he owns the company. Elena thinks she owns the marriage. They both think I'm in Colorado, chopping wood, fading into a statistic. They forgot the first rule of the laundromat office. The one I wrote on the whiteboard in red marker, day one. The architect always holds the keys. I hit send on the first commit. Git push origin main force. The driver asked, "You okay, buddy? You look intense." I didn't look up. My eyes burned. Dry. Clear. Never better, I said. Just debugging a production issue. The car merged onto the highway. Behind me, the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. Data streams. Waiting to be routed. By me. Subscribe to Betrayal and Revenge for more unbelievable stories of betrayal and karma.